Hey, remember this unicorn? We're going to talk more about setup and payoff. A couple days ago, I got this comment in response to the Suicide Squad review, so let's quickly do a clearer dive into what's really the essence of setup and payoff. Now, in the previous video, I mentioned the rule of threes, where an element will be set up, then there's a reminder, and then finally a payoff. This idea meshes with another dramatic principle of Chekhov's gun. Anton Chekhov was a prolific Russian author and playwright in the mid-late 1800s. He believed strongly in narrative efficiency and thought stories should have formal rules of construction, which is why we have the phrase Chekhov's gun. Remove everything that has no relevance to the story. If you say in the first chapter that there is a rifle hanging on the wall, in the second or third chapter it absolutely must go off. If it's not going to be fired, it shouldn't be hanging there. The unicorn in Suicide Squad is unusual. It's an absurdist element, it breaks from expectations, and thus definitionally calls attention to itself. This is why we, or at least I, expect something to come of it. Now let's go back and look at that comment. Wouldn't the title card be the intro, when we first see it, the reminder, and then the fight, the payoff? Now, the comment makes a critical error in evaluating the rule of threes, which is holding too tightly to the idea of three. The idea isn't just that something should show up 3 times, but as per Chekhov's gun, it should do something. Even though the unicorn appears or is referenced 3 different times, none of these actually come to anything. 3 is really just a convenient number. It has a good rhythm, and once something has happened 3 times in a row, we instinctively start to feel like it is intentional rather than random. 3 is indicative of a pattern. Even simpler than the psychology of patterns, though, is just basic information juggling, managing the human memory. If someone is watching a movie or a play or television, they're actually taking in a lot of information at a more or less constant rate for upwards of several hours. The reminder stage of the rule of threes is really just about helping the audience keep track of something set up in the first 20 minutes that's not going to be relevant for another 2 hours. If the span of time between setup and payoff is much shorter, then there's no need for a reminder because it's still fresh in the audience's mind. Well, if the time between is much, much longer, then either you'll need more reminders or you'll just need to spend more time embedding it in the audience's memory. But even that still isn't getting to the heart of the issue, and to do that, we're going to take a look at an episode of The Simpsons. Season 3, Bart's Friend Falls in Love, centers around Bart and Milhouse having a falling out over the new girl in class. At the start of the episode, Milhouse shows Bart his new magic 8-ball. They ask it several questions, and the 8-ball predicts that they won't be friends by the end of the day. Sure enough, Milhouse falls in love with Samantha, the new girl in class. Bart resents the change in his relationship with Milhouse, and the two have a falling out that culminates in Bart snitching on Samantha to her father, who has her transferred to a private girls' school. Feeling guilty about the grief he's caused Milhouse, Bart confesses to Milhouse, and Milhouse attacks him. Bart grabs the 8-ball and hits Milhouse in the head, breaking it. So this is all over within a half hour, including commercial breaks, so there's not really any pressing need for a reminder, just the setup and the payoff. The setup is that the introduction of the 8-ball into the relationship heralds the forming of a rift, while the payoff is that the violent destruction of the 8-ball marks the healing of that rift. A peaceful, friendly interaction with the 8-ball moves the emotional state into chaos. A chaotic, violent interaction moves the emotional state into peace. The 8-ball being used for its intended purpose brings discord, brings a prophecy that dooms the protagonist, and the destruction of the 8-ball, using it as a weapon, breaks the curse and breaks the power of the 8-ball over the relationship. The writer could have used anything for this gag, but by using the 8-ball, it forms an emotionally satisfying loop, which is the essence of payoff. A stuffed unicorn flying out of Boomerang's jacket isn't emotionally satisfying.